Hemp retailers in Missouri are trying to work with state lawmakers to place regulations on the industry. Right now, hemp products are not regulated under the state's marijuana laws, even though some products can have intoxicating effects. WGEM Missouri Capital Bureau Chief Joe McLean spoke with retailers about the new rules and what they would like to see imposed.
The Missouri Hemp Trade Association compiled this list of regulations like it was a bill that a lawmaker would file in the state legislature. They're hoping to work with state lawmakers to impose these regulations on this industry. After an effort earlier this year by Governor Mike Parson to fully ban hemp products that mimic marijuana, hemp retailers are hoping to satisfy concerns about their unregulated products. Their answer for state lawmakers? Some regulations.
The regulations cover dosages, serving sizes, packaging so that they are not packaged in such a manner as to be attractive to children, so that they're child-proof. So obviously we're concerned about child safety and adult safety for that matter as well, so that adults can be able to read the labels and see what's in it.
All of it's outlined in a document drafted like a bill for lawmakers to introduce. But not all retailers are fully on board with how they're written. Hemp farmer and seller John Grady said he's concerned some of the fee structures and policy decisions might benefit only large-scale retailers and put too much of a burden on smaller shops.
They ask for a lot on the product manufacturers and retailers, but they don't actually provide any extra consumer safety. It looks like it might, but it actually adds more cost to the end consumer, manufacturers, and those small businesses.
Ultimately, members of the Hemp Trade Association say they're confident state lawmakers will be on board with this.
It's a win-win for everyone. The industry gets to continue to live, and the state gets regulations that will prevent any issues from taking place in the future.
The new session is set to begin January 8th. In Jefferson City, Joe McLean, WGEM News.